Indonesia in the mid-1960s was a nation teetering on the brink. Chaos reigned supreme, casting a long shadow over the archipelago. The vibrant streets of Jakarta, once symbols of progress, were now choked with uncertainty and unease. The economy was collapsing at an alarming rate, its foundations crumbling under the weight of mismanagement and instability. Rampant inflation soared to unprecedented levels, eroding the value of currency and savings alike. Basic goods, the essentials of daily life, were becoming increasingly scarce, leaving ordinary citizens struggling to survive. Political tensions reached a fever pitch, with a dangerous rivalry brewing between the powerful army and the PKI, the world's third-largest communist party, a significant force in Indonesian politics. Sukarno's guided democracy, intended to unite the nation, had ultimately failed to restore order and stability. Then, on the fateful night of September 30, 1965, the shadowy G30S movement launched a daring operation, kidnapping and brutally killing 6 of the nation's top generals, claiming their actions were necessary to protect President Sukarno from an impending coup. The capital was paralyzed, gripped by a pervasive sense of fear, uncertainty, and utter confusion. Major General Soeharto, who had remained untouched and unscathed by the night's events, quickly and decisively mobilized the full force of the army, swiftly crushed the G30S movement, and placed the blame squarely on the shoulders of the PKI. This carefully constructed narrative, relentlessly spread by the military, ignited a brutal and devastating anti-communist purge, resulting in the deaths of hundreds of thousands of innocent people. The PKI was utterly destroyed. Sukarno's once unquestioned authority was irrevocably shattered, and the army, under the firm leadership of Suharto, moved to seize complete control of the nation. The old order crumbled and collapsed, its foundations weakened beyond repair. The public, weary and desperate for a return to stability and normalcy, anxiously looked towards the horizon, hoping for new leadership to emerge. In this oppressive climate, marked by both fear and a deep longing for transformative change, the stage was set, and the new order was poised to begin its reign. Suharto's rise was gradual but relentless. He positioned himself as the nation's savior, dismantling Sukarno's power and building his own. Student protests and public unrest, supported by the army, pressured Sukarno. The turning point came with the Super Samar letter in March 1966, granting Suharto sweeping authority. He banned the PKI, arrested Sukarno loyalists, and took control. By 1967, Suharto was acting president. A year later, he was officially installed. The revolutionary Sukarno era ended, replaced by Suharto's military-focused new order. Indonesians, weary of chaos, hoped this new regime would bring peace and prosperity. The new order, under Suharto, fundamentally reshaped Indonesia's priorities. Economic development took center stage, superseding the focus on revolutionary politics that had characterized the Sukarno era. The government aimed to create a stable environment conducive to economic growth. Suharto's economic strategy relied heavily on a team of Western-educated economists, technocrats who understood global markets and modern economic principles. This team stabilized the volatile economy and launched a series of ambitious 5-year development plans, known as Repelita, to guide the nation's progress. These plans prioritized key sectors, starting with agriculture to ensure food security, and infrastructure development to facilitate trade and investment. However, this economic focus came at a steep price. Political opposition was systematically crushed. To consolidate power, existing political parties were forced to merge into a limited number of government-approved entities, leaving only 2 legal opposition parties. These parties existed alongside Golkar, the regime's own political vehicle, which served as its primary base of support. Golkar, enjoying unwavering support from the Indonesian military, became the dominant political force. With the backing of the state apparatus, Golkar consistently dominated every election, ensuring the continuation of the New Order regime. The military's dual-function doctrine, known as Duifungsi, played a crucial role in maintaining this control. This doctrine legitimized the military's involvement in all aspects of Indonesian life, placing active and retired officers in key positions throughout the government bureaucracy. This ensured unwavering loyalty to the regime and enabled the swift and often brutal suppression of any form of dissent or opposition. Press freedom was severely restricted, with the government exercising tight control over all media outlets. Any criticism of the regime, no matter how mild, was quickly and effectively silenced through censorship and intimidation. The state ideology Pancasila was rigorously enforced through mandatory indoctrination programs in schools and workplaces. Stability and rapid economic development were presented as the ultimate goals of the new order, and individual freedoms and political expression were often sacrificed in the name of achieving this collective vision of progress. The new order delivered economic growth and modernization. Infrastructure expanded, rice self-sufficiency was achieved, and education and healthcare improved. For many, life became more stable and prosperous. But this progress came with harsh repression. Freedom of speech and assembly were crushed, critics faced arrest or worse. Human rights abuses, like the Tanjung Priok massacre and East Timor annexation, stained the regime's record. Corruption and nepotism flourished, enriching Suharto's circle while inequality grew. The regime's image of harmony masked deep resentment and injustice. The new order's legacy is a double-edged sword, progress built on fear and suppression. After 32 years of unwavering rule, the seemingly impenetrable foundation of the new order began to crumble, most notably with the devastating 1997 Asian financial crisis. This crisis exposed deep vulnerabilities within the Indonesian economy. The Indonesian rupiah experienced a catastrophic collapse, plummeting to record lows. Businesses across the archipelago shuttered their doors, leading to widespread bankruptcies, and millions of Indonesians found themselves suddenly unemployed and struggling to survive. Public anger, simmering for years, finally exploded into mass protests and demonstrations that gripped the nation. These protests were largely led by students, who fearlessly demanded sweeping reforms to the political and economic system. Their primary demand was clear: Suharto's immediate resignation from power. The regime's carefully constructed image of stability and control rapidly vanished. Violence and widespread riots swept through Jakarta and other major cities, plunging the country into chaos. Suharto began to lose crucial support, even from within his own political elite. Key ministers and high-ranking military leaders, once loyal allies, started to abandon him, sensing the impending collapse. Finally, on May 21, 1998, a pivotal moment in Indonesian history, Suharto made the momentous announcement of his resignation on live television, shocking the nation and the world. Vice President B.J. Habibie was swiftly sworn in to take over the presidency, ushering in what became known as the Reformasi era, a period of significant political and social change. The fall of Suharto and the New Order regime opened the door to a new era of democracy and greater freedoms for the Indonesian people. However, the legacy of the New Order, including widespread corruption, systemic human rights abuses, and a highly centralized concentration of power, continues to shape the political and social landscape of Indonesia today, presenting ongoing challenges for the nation's future.